Hello, YouTube. My name is Doug Beatty, and I'm talking to you from the beautiful, beautiful neighborhood of Magnolia, Delaware. And we're live right now. You can tell I put a lot of trouble into my appearance for tonight's video. I want to talk to you briefly about some going on in Dover, Delaware. We're going to talk about the lynchings and suspected lynchings, as some people would say, in Silver Lake and Dover, Delaware. In 2010, a young black man was found hanging in an alley near Silver Lake behind Wesley College Governor's Alley in Dover, Delaware. His death was ruled a suicide by police based on a Facebook post that said, "Sorry, Mom, you'll have to ask Jasmine what happened." Now, that doesn't really sound like a lock for a suicide note to me, but the Dover police thought it was. His mother doubted the story, and later she kind of recanted and said, well, maybe he did commit suicide. A lot of his friends didn't think he committed suicide. It was kind of strange. He supposedly looped two of his own belts together and hung himself from a tree. That's important because in 2012 they found Johnny Clark hanging from a tree, half in, half out of the water at Silver Lake. Local character known as Snipes on the street because he liked to play with guns. He was known in my neighborhood, which is a fairly rough cut if you can't tell by looking at me, as Nasir. And he had been a barber. In fact, a college professor that I know very well had been to him, sat in his barber's chair. The man was trying to get his life together. People that knew him say that he did not commit suicide, and he was seen with two men, two white guys that lived on Governor's Avenue, John and Mike. They were the last two people his brother saw him with before he was found dead. Now, those two men allegedly assaulted Henry Fordham in September of 2012. Henry identified the men and their truck, and the nifty thing about that was the same truck was identified by a 911 caller who never spoke to Henry except for to tell him the police were on the way. Never had any conversation with him before or after that. So that's pretty unique, and just a little unique. Excuse me for the way I've got this camera held up here, folks. This is kind of impromptu. I'm doing this on a crappy little Amazon Kindle Fire. Don't really have video equipment, and to tell you the truth, I don't want to be making this video. But the fact of the matter is, there have been 4 men found dead in Silver Lake since 2012, all people of color, and ruled suicides. We don't know what the ruling on Mr. Acevedo Palencia is, but the police set it up to be a suicide when he had a gold alert. And for somebody like me that has the kind of respect for public safety that I do, I wore a badge in D.C. public housing. I was a special police officer. Basically, that means you're a glorified security guard that can carry a gun and make arrests, and you work for a private company because in D.C. armed security guards are illegal. So they call us special police, specialized special ed, baby. And then the city, having all these special police, says, hey, you know what? Real cops are expensive. Let's hire special police to guard the projects. Woohoo! Now we're doing it. Yeah, so I did that, and it was real. There are some things about these suicides that just don't add up to me. Okay, if you read the Center for Disease Control statistics, Dover is 40% African American and at least 50% white as me. Okay, keep that in mind. Whites are 5 times more likely to commit suicide than African American males in the same age group. So if you have these 5 African American men dead in Silver Lake and just committing suicide for no apparent reason, and 2 others that weren't in Silver Lake, we don't know where they were. Let me back up for a minute. Between 2010 and 2015, 5 black men were found hanging in Kent County, Delaware, according to a letter from the Deputy Attorney General in Kent County to a Mr. Harmon of the African American Historical Society in Wilmington. He demanded an investigation. They wrote him a letter and said, we find 5 black guys hanging from trees in 5 years in one county, that's only got a population of about 40,000. But hey, they were all tragic suicides. Now, for those numbers to be even close to correct, and hanging from a tree is an unusual manner of death for a black man to commit suicide outside of an institutional setting, okay? In jail, people will do anything they have to do to hang themselves. They do leg lifts from the floor. I know people that have seen that. Ken Abraham, a former prosecutor, spent 5 years in maximum security, and he saw it himself. I believe him. But outside of a correctional setting, that's rare. I mean, I have a very good friend. There was a homicide detective in Washington, D.C. He doesn't buy it. And he is one of the last people to be skeptical of police. But when he is, he's very skeptical because he also worked internal affairs. There's something wrong in Dover, Delaware, and there's a problem with the police department. Jim Hosfeld straight up lied about the Henry Fordham case, and the Dover Police Department straight up covered up for a man named John Atkins and an accomplice named Mike. John Atkins was picked up by a Cranston Heights volunteer ambulance a month later, according to a bill that supposedly landed in his neighbor's mailbox. When I was asking questions about John and Mike in the neighborhood where they had once lived, a neighbor just came out and whipped out this ambulance bill and showed it to me, and Dr. Issa. So we immediately, of course, reported this to the authorities. The mayor himself, we had a meeting with him. Nothing was ever done. And then Councilman Anderson's running around, David Anderson, that smiling son of a bitch, and he's saying things like, oh, well, something happened to Henry Fordham, but those guys are gone and we just can't find them. I asked the police chief if they had anything on these racist flyers that were put out in Dover, Delaware in 2011. They were horrific. I really don't even want to describe them, but they had a swastika, a man hanging from the tree, and a message saying cleaning up the streets one N-bomb at a time. And of course it didn't say N-bomb, but they were made on a laser printer, it looks like, and the police have no idea who did it. It took me about 5 minutes online to find out that an American artist named Robert Adrian Hilliard living in Taiwan had made the image and it was sold as a stock image, because Star Parker also used it on one of her messages from her website about racism in the Democratic Party or something. She's a conservative black woman. So we have flyers going out in 2011, a man hanging in 2010, flyers going out depicting lynchings in 2011, a man hanging from a tree half in the lake in 2012, another man with knife wounds to his head that says people tried to lynch him, and an attack was phoned in by a bystander that heard it, woke her up, and she described the same truck the victim did, but the police say it's an unfounded complaint. I'll be damned. We need new cops in Dover. We need a busload of FBI agents right now. Why they aren't here, I don't know. I think it has something to do with money. Now, and then we have 3 guys in 2 years to show up in this lake that aren't people that go to lakes at a time of the year when nobody would go in the water. These people are being murdered. It's not that hard to figure out. But now a councilman, Roy Sudler, who, in my opinion, helped cover up the Johnny Clark and Henry Fordham thing. He said, oh, I was on the Human Rights Commission. He had a big, long phone call with me the other day, virtue signaling. I told him, I said, dude, if this is glad handing, we're both done, because I'm going to ride for this, and these are dangerous people, but I'm going to ride. So the point of this rant is that I'm very sorry I'm not making videos that I want to make. Like this little geek radio here, man, I love this stuff. I'm into remote control and drones right now. I'm trying to learn how to fly cameras, and I want to learn different platforms so I can teach and get in the industry. But we're going to put all that on hold a little bit. I might have to shave this beard, do something about that dang eyebrow, and put some clothes on. I do have my driver's license with a star, so I can walk into the courthouse through the front door and not have to be in handcuffs. That's the bonus. But basically, I've got a lot of hairy stuff to do, and I don't want to do it. And I've been very hard on people on Facebook who are about this resist Trump, 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 Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. Don't love the guy. Don't hate him. Got a lot of problems with his policies, but we can't even talk about policies because everything is, oh, you're a Nazi. Oh, you're this. Oh, and if you disagree with someone who's against Trump, they automatically, you're a child molester, you're a racist, you're this, you're that. I ain't got time for it. But to the Delaware activists that claim to be against racism, that like to look away from stuff like this, bitches, I'm pulling your cards. And if you don't like it, do something else, okay? Alrighty, everybody. That's it for me. I'm out.